Hello, this is part 2 of our video, Brew with Us, Soundwave, with Siren Craft Brew.
And today we've got Matt and Sean, the brewer from Siren Craft, here to taste the beer that we brewed a couple of weeks ago down at the Siren Craft Brewery in Finchampstead.
So the plan is we're going to look at this beer through the perspective of a commercial brewer, and this is going to be Sean trying it.
And then Matt and myself, as the home brewers, who actually brewed it and came up with the recipe.
So basically we're going to critique the beer and see how well we did.
Hi Matt, so I thought I'd invite you along to taste the batch of Soundwave we brewed the other week at Siren Craft.
I'm looking forward to this.
So we put it into keg, we've had it carbonating for a week, and I thought we could actually compare it against some Soundwave that you brought fresh from the brewery for us to taste.
Yeah, it smells brilliant, doesn't it?
Certainly smells hoppy. Oh wow. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot more, feels more New England, I guess, than our Soundwave. But I quite like it. It's got that kind of dankness to it.
On its own, yeah, it feels a bit soft and fruity, rounded.
Yeah, the mouthfeel is spot on.
Shall we crack open the can of Soundwave and see?
Let's do it.
Well, obviously, yours is a lot clearer.
Yeah, it's still got that same golden kind of haze to it, but Soundwave is a touch clearer.
And although we've pulled this one out a few minutes, it's still creating a nice head because of the dextrin in there.
Less kind of fruit, I guess, on the nose.
Yeah, the real Soundwave's a lot more tropical on the nose.
Kind of more citrus to it.
But that could be because we've just literally pulled a fresh can from the brewery.
Yeah, it could be. This was canned less than a couple of weeks ago. I think it's really close.
I think if I was offered a pint of either of them, I'd very happily sit there and just carry on drinking both of them.
I like that.
So you happy with what we've achieved?
Absolutely. I think as a first brew, I think it's spot on, and I'm sure Sean will give us a few tips. But absolutely, yeah, brilliant.
Do you want to tell us a bit about the recipe, Sean?
Yeah, Soundwave's our flagship IPA. It's been around, I think, from day one. It's the beer we probably brew the most, and it's an IPA. Do you want to go through the recipe?
Yeah, let's talk about the grain bill.
Yeah, so it's pretty simple grain bill. We use Marisota as our base malt, and then we got some dextrin and some wheat malt in it.
Okay, and you're using Simpsons as the maltster?
Yeah, so we got a good relationship with them and use them for all our base malts.
Got it. Okay, and just basically the hops that are involved are all classic West Coast style hops.
Yeah, and since it's been around for so long, we still got Columbus and Chinook in there, and then some of the big hitters, Citra and Simcoe. Because it's been around so long, those hops were there, but they still play an important part in the beer and the recipe.
Yeah, especially that Columbus being like a really old school, that real solid bitterness that it provides. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Chinook is a great kind of layering hop that comes in and just kind of adds another dimension to beers. So I use Chinook in lots of recipes, but just in small amounts to layer in a different flavour. And then got Simcoe with big grapefruit and tropical notes, and Citra bringing all the tropical fruits. So
nice. And what about the yeast involved?
So we use our house yeast, which is a New England Vermont strain. It brings a lot of stone fruit and some tropical notes from the fermentation. And it's our house yeast. So,
cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting point of difference when we get through to the tasting, because obviously we've used the Lallyman New England on this. So yeah, it'll be an interesting point.
Yeah.
So let's get the actual Soundwave poured. So if we can just put those side by side, you can see straight away that we're hazier on ours, and this is a kind of like a clearer, less hazy.
Yeah. So yeah, we spend about 18 days in tank with Soundwave.
Okay.
And we do about 5 days cold maturation. With the amount of wheat we put in, generally tends to not be like modern hazy IPA sort of style. Just tends to be lighter and a bit. You can almost see through it, but
Sure, yeah.
got the haze on it. Yeah, and that's from the wheat. We don't have any oats in Soundwave.
No centrifuge.
It goes to the centrifuge,
does.
but we run the centrifuge as fast as we can, mainly trying to remove yeast. We taste, when we centrifuge the beer, we're tasting all the time, but the centrifuge will be one of the things that makes a difference.
Yeah,
Before
got it.
centrifuge, it would look like that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go in for a.
Yep.
Initial thoughts are the actual Soundwave seems to be more zesty. It's got more of that fresh, zingy zest about it. And our versions, it's slightly more dank.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we do get that citrus kind of note coming through.
Yeah.
Tropical fruits in the back, and the yeast comes through with a little bit of kind of stone fruit, whereas, yeah, I think this one's a bit more dank.
Yeah.
Almost smells a bit more like a modern, like hazy.
Yeah. Might also be part of that might also be the yeast that's been used, just pushing the different flavours to the forefront.
Yeah, it's really interesting smelling them side by side.
Going back to the colour as well. I think that actually the colours come out really pretty close. I think that if our version was clearer in the glass, I think that would be almost the spot
Haze
on
will,
with the
will change it slightly. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, I think they look really close. They both got nice head sitting on them, which you can struggle in some of these hazy beers.
Let's go in for a taste.
Yeah. Start on the malt brewer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I think without doubt, you can call it a really good representation of what we're trying to achieve here.
I think so. I think there's a bitterness there, which Soundwave also has. So, but light and soft and
Yeah. Let's go for the real version. Yeah, that zingy aroma really does. Yeah, it comes through. I think it has a more assertive bitterness to it.
yeah, yeah. I think Soundwave is like not as like round
Yeah.
and almost like
Yeah, this is softer, isn't it? Softer, and like you say, fluffier.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Soundwave came from a, you know, we've removed some bitterness over the years, but it came from almost the West Coast.
Got it.
IPA is the original thing, so it's kind of drifted with the times and
Yeah.
IPAs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's developed with the change in tastes.
Yeah,
So a lot of one thing that homebrewers really want to get dialed in is their water profile. But have you got any tips for homebrewers about what sort of water profile or what they need to do to be able to produce and prolong the hop character within the finished beer?
our water traditionally has been really hard.
Yeah, been in Reading. Yeah, it's similar
Yeah.
to yeah.
And we just got a water system in that we've had some teething issues with getting it online, and now it's running quite well. And so we got a much softer base to play with. So working with RO water
Yeah.
is a great thing for homebrewers to do, or even just soft mineral water if you can get it. Just
Sure.
we kind of stuck with the water we got. So luckily we've had this investment now that we can work with that softer platform to build up. We want to bring the calcium down. That's the main thing we want to. Our beers have been chalky in the past.
Yeah. And what you say that the beers have been chalky. Where does that sort of manifest itself actually in the flavour of the beer?
I think we find it in the taste, for sure, in the mouthfeel.
Yeah.
And
More of a harshness.
Yeah, a slight astringency.
Yeah.
And it just almost makes the beer taste drier than it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But with the softer water that we're using now, we try to build up the calcium and the sulfates. Build up sulfates, you can enhance bitterness, and chlorides can enhance mouthfeel and help with hop aroma. So we've got about 2-to-1 with chlorides, or 2 on that. And we're switching towards more of a East Coast kind of hazy IPA
Yeah.
kind of water profile, but it's still kind of in the middle.
And that's part of the development of the beer.
Yeah.
Modern taste is changing, and the beer, to a certain extent, needs to change with it.
Yeah, and it gives us a platform with this new water to actually play with it for the first time.
Yeah.
So we've done a bit of work on it, and we're going to do a lot more work on it over the next.
It really helps to support our customers, because there's one thing that we can do is we can give them a recipe and instructions that go and brew it. But obviously it's going to be totally different when it's brewed in different parts of the country, and that's one of the really good things that we can offer customers, is being able to say, look, if you use the RO water, you can build back the profile and match different water profiles from around the country, depending on what type of beer you're brewing from what region.
Yeah, and just make up your own profile as well and just see where it goes. 'Cause
Sure.
with us, we're brewing a beer that's been around for a while, that we can't make any radical changes.
Of course,
So
yeah, because your
everything's
customers
just-
are expecting.
Yeah, so it's just subtle changes, and we're looking for what's best. We're tasting Soundwave at all parts of the process as well. It's a project me and my lead brewer have taken on to try to taste Soundwave almost everywhere in the process, a lot more than we have traditionally, just to figure out where certain flavors are coming from and how they develop through the 18 to 21 days that we keep it in tank.
Sure.
And just see how that manifests. We also originally only brewed into single batches fermenters. We've now got some bigger fermenters outside, so we're playing around and making sure we're keeping that consistent with the single tank. So
sure, because there are different amounts, the volumes of beer within the tanks, and the different pressures involved that create different types of flavours.
Yeah, and we designed our tanks around the same geometries and stuff as much as we can.
Yeah.
We're managing that. We got a higher head pressure, so these tanks go, I think, 8 meters high.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more head pressure on the yeast. It's something we play around with slowly, and just trying to make sure that we're keeping Soundwave as consistent as possible while also developing the recipe.
How much do you find that the individual hop profiles change within harvest years?
I think for us, yes, it's important, and we work with our main hop supplier pretty closely, and we haven't been able to go out to hop harvest recently.
No, only recently, yeah.
But it's a really important process to go and actually, because the hops in this beer are all under varieties, so the hop merchants or hop suppliers really brew they will blend different lots to create it within a spec for
More
variety.
consistent, yeah.
But some lots are better than others,
Yeah.
and if you can pick them and they suit, and different brewers will find different lots better
To
et
suit
cetera.
their
Yeah, what they look
particular
like.
beers, yeah.
It's a really hard process because you're smelling hops when they're just pellets, not actually,
Sure.
or just the leaf.
Yeah, they've
even,
already been processed,
and
yeah.
they haven't been. They're not in beer, so
Yeah.
yeah, you got to go with your guts when you do it. But it is a very important tool for brewers to use, and it's something for home brewers. If they get a good lot that they really like, they should buy some.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Many home brewers are really desperate to get like the latest harvest of hops, and it's one of the things. It's not always just because it's the latest harvest. The freshest hops aren't necessarily the best ones. You have fantastic harvest years. You have less fantastic harvest years.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the latest harvest that will give you the biggest flavour.
Yeah, and the weather conditions have such a impact on
Sure.
on the oils and stuff in the hops that give us the aroma. Another big thing is the malt changes as well. So we found like quite a bit, in the change in the malt can affect the clarity of the beer, even depending if they've got a lot more nitrogen and protein.
Yeah, sure.
So we've got to pay attention to all of that to keep brewing a
Sure.
consistent product.
Okay, let's just sum up. Let's just go for one more taste of the of both. And
So the yeast in this. So I think that's something you can play around with when brewing
Sure.
Soundwave, different Vermont kind of yeast. I think this one adds a great aroma.
yeah,
But
and that softness, where it might be a bit more assertive bitterness with some of the other Vermont type strains.
And yeast, if you don't centrifuge at all your yeast, alpha acids tend to stick to yeast quite a lot, so they can change the bitterness of the beer the longer you leave it to settle as well, which is an interesting thing to play around with.
Okay. Well, we're absolutely delighted to have this. We're delighted to have the recipe on site. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your time and your knowledge.
Yeah,
It's been very useful. Thank you.
Well done with the beer. It tastes great.
Cheers.
Don't forget, we want to hear how you got on with this recipe, so please leave comments below or share on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We want to hear back from you on how you find brewing Soundwave by Siren Craft.